everybody. This is Carol Muleta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Today, we're in for a real treat as we dive into the world of creative writing and journaling and how these two powerful tools can help our children build confidence and express themselves. I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Dr. Lena Peyton Webb. Dr. Webb is a multi-award-winning publisher, graphic designer, and retired Army veteran with over 30 years of experience in the creative arts. As the founder of Blue Impressions Publishing, LLC, she's been empowering authors, coaches, and consultants to transform their expertise into works that can truly make an impact. Dr. Webb, welcome to our show. I am so excited to tap into your wealth of knowledge and just learn how we can use creative writing to help our children grow and also grow as parents together into confident, resilient individuals. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It is indeed a pleasure, and I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us how you started Blue Impressions, and then we'll just get into what you're doing, the work that you're doing.
So thank you for that question. So Blue Impressions came out of a calling, right? So some time ago, I was in the military, as you said. I'm serving my country. I was a certified graphic designer at the time while I was in. So I did it as graphics as a side, like a little side hustle, right? So just something to do on the side. Prior to that, I was working for some of the top companies in Detroit, some of the first Black print company, a couple of newspaper companies in Detroit. But I thought at the time that I wasn't making a lot of money. At 20, 20-year-olds, we think we're supposed to be making all the money, right? So I decided I'm going to go back to school to make more money, and was still doing the graphics. Couldn't pay for college. So hence I joined the Army because I didn't want to go back home, right? Okay. So I joined the Army. About 19 years in, I get the devastating diagnosis of cancer. Yeah, so I get this devastating diagnosis. During the treatment took my eyesight.
Oh, no. Okay.
So I was declared legally blind for 4 years. But during that time, I was unable to care for myself, let alone do the things that I love to do, which was to be creative. So as a graphic designer, person who just loved to create, that thing was taken from me. So after a period of time, they got it back where I could see a little bit, just a little bit, like little shadows and things like that. And so I would use coloring books to help me refocus and retrain my eyes. So then it became this love affair with me and these coloring books. And then from there, I started using journaling to help me overcome the mental trauma from the whole ordeal. So it would take years for me to get well enough. And then eventually the Lord would say, okay, you've used these things to help you recover. Now you can go out and help other people. So the coloring books I used, they had Big Bird on it. They had ABCs. They had 1, 2, 3s. There's some books I had no business probably with. Let's say for my grandson. So I would make books that resonated with me, that looked like me, that had a vibe like me, that, really talked to me versus the things I was using, off the shelf. Sure. So then that's how the business came. I started making books that resonated with my clients, that they can then go out and serve the people that they were serving in a different way. But it spoke to them because it was uniquely made to talk to those who they serve.
That's a beautiful story and just so powerful, and just the way that you were so resilient and you found a way at every stage, I guess, of your recovery. You used what you had at the time.
Yes.
And just continued. And as you said, it sounds like you're saying, God said you were faithful with what you had, so he just opened up more possibilities for you. Yes. So that's a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So you do help parents, you do help people now with journaling and creative writing to use their experiences very much as you did and express their emotions. So I'm wondering how parents could do this to help their children process their emotions and build self-confidence.
So, for parents, we speak one language. our children speak a whole nother language, right? So it's a way of bridging the gap. It's a communication tool, books. It doesn't matter what kind. It could be a journal, it could be a coloring book, it can be a self-help book, but they're tools that can be used to communicate between an adult and a child, or a parent and a child, in a different way. So we have even used color journals with emojis for little kids, and they just circle how they feel that day, or if they're sad, they're mad, and sometimes we don't know. We don't know that a little person, you would think they would be happy every day, but in fact, they're not happy every day.
Exactly.
So it's just it gives them a way to be to express themselves to us, because their language is different from ours, right? And then another benefit of it too is it teaches them gratitude.
Talk about
Right.
that.
So you're right. Just to be able to write down something that you're thankful for, have them to actually put it on paper. What's something that you enjoyed about today? Not just all the bad things, but tell me the good things too. What did you enjoy today? Was it your lunch? Was it something that the teacher said, or maybe the lunch lady said? But it teaches them a way to get in the habit of having gratitude for the little thing. What we may consider little, somebody else may consider big.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also, I think, talk about how parents can turn life lessons into teachable moments. So sometimes it may be some challenging moments that children are facing, and perhaps creative storytelling could help with that. How have you seen that happen?
Yeah, so we see that quite a bit, and unfortunately, it happens later, right? So like years later, well, I wrote this journal when I was in my teens, and now that I'm 40, 50, now I want to be able to share it. So we've been trying to get parents to see, well, if the children are experiencing things now, they can help people now, right? So although they're a child, it's still an experience that can be shared, no matter what age the child is. So we've actually even helped work with children who have autism to help them to be able to communicate. We've done some books in that realm to help them be able just to share what their experiences is like. I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, we had a mother. She had two children. One was verbal and one was not verbal. So I was like, well, I don't know how you're going to do these books and not do one and not do the other. So we agreed to do both of them. So I interviewed both of them, even the one that's nonverbal. So he was able to tell me what he liked to eat, what he didn't like. And so she thought all this time he loved Chick-fil-A. And he kept pushing on his tablet. No, he didn't like Chick-fil-A. He liked McDonald's filet of fish. And she looked at him and she was like, what you mean you don't like Chick-fil-A? So it was just, and he was like, I don't like Chick-fil-A, I like filet of fish. And so it was just a communication. She thought that because his sister loved Chick-fil-A, he loved Chick-fil-A. And in fact, he does not even like Chick-fil-A. So it's just a funny way for her to realize that she's been communicating with him for 13 years, thinking he liked Chick-fil-A, and he does not like Chick-fil-A.
And that's and that kind of is an example too. And often parents do this without really realizing it, that it was probably convenient for her to get Chick-fil-A for both children, but she was already getting it for the daughter, so we may as well get it for him. Or yes, and rather than go to another restaurant or something like that, it just works. And so that's kind of an example of that, and I'm sure that wouldn't have been intentional. But we do those.
She felt so bad.
We do those things sometimes.
Yeah, she felt really bad. She was like, "Oh my goodness, I did not realize that." But it was just a way for them to communicate and open up, because we were doing this project on writing a children's book on his experience of using a tablet to communicate, and so he really did communicate with her and tell her what he liked.
I tell you, after that, he's like, I wonder how many other things I can share with you.
I'm pretty sure it was interesting after we got off the call.
Right. And so you talk about that connection that can build through these projects. Have you done projects where the parent and child work together on one book or something? Talk about that.
So normally, so the child normally has one expectation or thought process of the book, and then the parent may have another. And sometimes it's it's very interesting to see how the two, come together. And then sometimes the child is like, oh, well, whatever, mom wants to do this or dad wants to do this book. And then, but when they have it in their hand, it's a whole nother story, right? Once the book is in their hand, the child kind of like takes off. Like, it's like, oh, this is me in this book, or this is my story in the book. So it gives them something, one, to look forward to. And then they're building a legacy together. And most of the stories are something that they experienced together. We had one lady, her and her child wrote a story about losing the father or the dad. So it helped them to grieve and get past that. Then we had a teacher who was a mom, and she taught about, they wrote a story about mom working at the same school that the child was at, and the child, didn't want to, had a challenge not interacting with mom at school. So, so it was a funny story, but yeah, so I think there's a story in every situation that we go through, and it's just what we want to make out of it and a lesson that we want to share with the world. Everybody, even children, we all experience something. Nobody comes to this earth and not experience something. And to be able to put it in a form of a book with a child, to give them something that, one, they'll be connected with you forever.
Sure.
Like forever. Like even after you're gone, they're still here with their kids and their great grandkids. You're leaving that piece of you with them, something you can, you've experienced that journey together. So it's a great way to leave a legacy and teach a lesson as well.
Do you want to connect your brand with families worldwide? ProPix by the Parenting 411 is your ticket to success. With over 20,000 followers and a podcast reaching more than 25 countries, we're talking family relationships, mental health, and raising awesome kids. Our past guests include doctors, psychologists, other medical professionals, counselors, New York Times bestsellers, award-winning actors, and others. ProPix amplifies your reach and boosts visibility to engage parents seeking the best for their families. Ready to join the big leagues? Visit ProPix by P411.com and let's take your brand to new heights. ProPix by P411.com. Amplify, boost, and drive your success in the parenting world.
And, how can parents then effectively strike that balance between nurturing their child's talents and creativity while also encouraging some structure and some discipline as they pursue their creative activities?
So, you know what? That's a good question. For me, when I was younger, I was a kid that my parents used to make me go outside because I thought everybody was outside getting in trouble. So I was like, well, I'm going to just stay in the house, read this book, and so I won't get in trouble. And so then they would find a way, well, no, you're going to go outside anyway. So I would go outside, sit on the porch with the same book, be like, okay, well, you made me come outside. Now I'm going to sit out here with this book. And I'm not getting off the porch because I don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
And so, but to take a child's, find out what it is that interests them, right? And then finding a way to let them be them is probably going to be the most helpful for both. One, you get to nurture that. Two, it gives them a great boost of self-esteem, right? Because now they recognize that you're interested in what they're interested in, and you're nurturing that. So, and I think kids definitely recognize it. That's like having a teacher or somebody that pays attention to the one thing you think nobody else pays attention to. Right. But yeah, and most kids are creative. They like being creative, but being able to get them maybe off the computer sometime doing other things, but let them be creative on the computer, writing or drawing or, using that computer time, not just to be playing a game, but doing something more construction. It'd be, a little better for them.
And so how have you seen parents integrate this creative writing and journaling with their children to help them academically with their schoolwork or for self-help principles, just ways that children can use it to accomplish the tasks that they need to complete every day? Yeah.
So ironically, we just had a child who she's like really into the whole being an author. So she's like, I'm going to, she's excited about being an author. She's 11.
Okay.
So her mother uses that as, okay, well, you have this idea, you're going to be an author. So that's in the works. I think she's going to be the next Judy Blume. So in her mind, she's going to be the next Judy Blume. And so we're like, you're going to be better than Judy Blume. You're going to be you, right? So,
Right.
and nobody else can be you other than you.
Right.
So she, they had a confrontation about a particular topic, and mom was like, well, okay, well, if you want to do this with your book, then we need to, she used it as like a card, like, okay, well, if you want to do this with the book, we got to make it through A, B, C, and D. And so, it kind of worked in her favor. So, yeah. It's like taking the video game away. It's like, okay, well, listen, to get to the end, to get to that, we got to go through this first. But, yeah. It's
Now, how can parents, you talked a little bit about it, but I'd like to hear a little more about, creating legacy and creating family journals and memory books. How have you seen parents do that, or how have you worked with families on that, helping them to preserve their family history and something to leave for future generations so that they know about those who came before them?
So for us, there's like several different ways you can do it. So we do these custom coloring books where we take pictures of you and make you into your own coloring image in your own book. So you could do it that way. So we've had people do that, take family photos, send them to us, and we may put them with each person's favorite saying, a quote or something like that. So that's one way. Another way is each person could tell a story. Like, if there's 5 people in your house, maybe everybody writes a chapter. So that's one way to get everybody involved, engaged. So there's like no right or wrong way. You could be as creative as you want to be. If you want a traditional book about your family, like, family tree, that's a way to go too. But we try and be, as creative as you allow us to be. So yeah, the family coloring book is like almost like one of a kind, right? So nobody else's book is going to look like that because nobody else's family looks like that.
That's right. That's right.
So it's a great way to leave a legacy for sure. And then if you just want to tell a story, maybe a story of something that your family overcame, or the process of something, you can share that. And then it not only helps your family, but it helps other families as well. Because trust me, your family isn't the only family that's going through something, right? So you may have a solution or some steps that may help the next family that may pick up that book. So that's a great way to leave a legacy, as well as help somebody else maybe facing a similar challenge in life. So.
And even as you were talking about it, I was kind of thinking about how this might make a great souvenir or from a family reunion or something like that. Because like, as you said, you could tell the family's history, you could have photos or images within the coloring book or within the book related to family members. And this could be something that, people in your extended family would want.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very unique way to leave a legacy.
And it's sort of, and with that idea too, it kind of has all of the children knowing the stories about their family. And really that can just really be a point of pride. And when they go out into the world and experience negativity, they can hold on to that. They can say that I know that my family is built on a solid foundation, and I have people that I'm very proud of in my family, and my family's proud of me.
Yes.
That's really special stuff you're doing there.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I have a young gentleman. When I say young, he's like 80. So he wanted to write a children's book, and he did. So he wrote this book. His wife has passed, I think, 2 years ago, and his son had passed several years before that. So he has a son that's still here, and then he has some grandchildren. So he wanted to write this children's book to leave for them. And so he wrote the children's book, and it's full of stories about the 2 sons and his wife, and even the dog.
Okay.
And so we took stories and we made it into like some 5-minute bedtime stories. And even the dog has a whole chapter about things they think the dog was saying, but we really don't know what the dog was saying. And then so we took pictures of the family for each story and turned them into the images that are then used in the book. And so the unique thing about his family is the granddaughters he doesn't have contact with the granddaughters. And he said it was important for him to be able to leave this book so that the granddaughters would know their grandmother and that the uncle that had passed some years ago. And so I was like, you're going to, hold on to the book for Christmas and give it to him then when you see him. And so he got the book last week. He could not wait a day.
Oh,
I was like, you're not going to wait for Christmas? He was like, nope, I'm getting in my car right now and I'm taking him over to him. And I think they're in Virginia and I think he's in Maryland. So he's going to take the book to him. He said he just wanted to go ahead and get it to him. So yeah, but it's a wonderful way and a unique way to leave a legacy for your children, your grandchildren, and those granddaughters will have those books forever.
And so, say for example, a parent thinks this would be a great idea, but their children have not really expressed an interest in writing. How can you get the children on board and get them excited about this project?
So the biggest thing that gets the child excited is to find out what the child likes and incorporate it, right? So that's usually my secret weapon. So actually talk to the child. I like to include the child, like have actual conversations with the child and include them, like have them part of the process. And then find out what it is that they like and include it. Include it. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So where can our listeners learn more about Blue Impressions and all that you have to offer and follow you on social media?
Absolutely. Yeah. So social media, we're at Blue Impressions Publishing. And it's Blue without the E. And then our website is pagestопроphets.com. So that's pages with the S, T-O, profits with the S.com. And there I think we have a free book that's there for your ebook that gives you 10 things to consider when writing a book that people most often forget. So go ahead and get that free ebook. But yeah, we would love to be able to help you leave a legacy for your family and your children as well. And then to get, create something that's going to give you promotes emotional wellness as well as build resilience, and then allows your child to be creative. And not just the child, the parents get to be creative too. So it's a way to have fun as well. So it is.
Right. And so I also wanted to ask too, is it the books that you publish, are they, do you primarily focus on coloring books or do you help people write other types of books?
So we do the self-help book. So any type of self-help book. So any book that kind of delivers results. So the sci-fi stuff, we have somebody we can refer you to for that. The romance stuff, we got somebody we can refer you to for that. But if your book is helping somebody through a thing or through a challenge or maybe so your expertise in something, maybe it's parenting, maybe it's how to cope with something, maybe it's grief, then we definitely can. We are the ones you want to come to. And then journals, custom workbooks, and then the custom coloring books as well.
Okay.
And then faith-based books, for sure.
Oh, faith-based book too?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Well, Dr. Webb, thank you so much for sharing just your incredible insights and practical tips with us today. I'm really sure our listeners are really kind of buzzing with ideas because I know I am. Just hearing you talk about it, I've thought about 3 or 4 other things, 3 other settings where this would make a lot of sense. I mean, what you described. So I appreciate that. And I hope that our listeners will share this with their kids to help them unleash their creativity and boost their confidence through writing. And remember, parents, you have the power to inspire your children's growth through the simple act of putting pen to paper. So grab your journals and just start telling those stories. Reach out to Dr. Webb. I, too, think it's very important to really capture your thoughts, capture your lessons, and share them with other people. As one of my coaches says, your story is about you, but it's not for you. It's really for someone else to learn. And so I shared my story in my mini motherhood memoir, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems for My Journey. You can visit mothersworkthebook.com. You can grab your copy. It's free. All you have to do is pay shipping and handling. But I must tell you that you are getting so much more than the book. Not only will you get a signed copy of my book, you'll get my webinar, Do You Hear Me? Staying Connected in the Chaos. And there I give valuable tools for connecting with your children. You'll get my companion workbook as well with more reference information as well as some practice activities. Also, you will get a free copy, digital copy of my book on parenting in the pandemic. It's called Parenting Odyssey, Trials, Treasures, and Triumphs of Parenting in a Pandemic, which is actually full of insightful stories about rising to meet the challenge in a pandemic, but also all of the other crises that you're going to face in life. So head on over for this deal at mothersworkthebook.com. And I appreciate you all listening. I hope that you will share this episode, share this podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and remember that it is never too late to be the parent you want to be. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to talk to you all next time. Bye.
We bring you this episode for the purpose of information and entertainment only. It is not the intent or purpose of the Parenting 411 podcast or Carol Muleta to provide an exhaustive reference or guide on all aspects of parenting, childcare, and family life. You are strongly encouraged to read all available information, consult medical or other appropriate professionals, and pursue all reasonable means to learn as much as possible about parenting to complement what you gain here, and then tailor the information to meet your individual needs. Yes, parenting is a serious matter, though it is not an exact science. The context and insights offered in this and every episode represent an account of knowledge and personal experiences of the host and any featured guests for the viewers' and listeners' information and consideration. The host and guests do not guarantee to our viewers or listeners any specific parenting outcomes from this episode or taking actions described here.